is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
I did a big one.
Have an outside line, please.
Spain has been hit by a new flooding disaster as torrential rain sent cars floating down the street in Girona. Welcome to the new world. Your car is now a boat. Many ended up piled on top of each other by a bridge in front of the town casino, where you could go inside and wager on what's causing all this. Anyone want to bet it's got something to do with climate change?
No.
This happened just over a week after another flooding disaster hit Spain, in the Valencia region, with more than 220 people confirmed to have died, in scenes that look like they came from a disaster film. But Bruce Willis will not be coming to save us. Tons of mud and debris that clog street after street, filling houses of ground floors of destroyed living rooms and kitchens. Neighbourhoods were left without shops and supermarkets, with all their products ruined. Many houses still don't have drinking water. At every corner, cars are piled on top of one another or smashed into buildings and light poles and trees and bridges and overpasses. Meanwhile, the chief executive of the COP29 climate summit has been filmed apparently agreeing to facilitate fossil fuel deals at the summit.
What?
The campaign group Global Witness posed undercover as a fake oil and gas group, asking for deals to be facilitated in exchange for sponsoring the event, which is supposedly being held to reduce the amount of fossil fuel we use, at which the chief executive of COP29 agreed to facilitate fossil fuel deals and spoke of a future that includes fossil fuels, perhaps forever. And he's the energy minister of Azerbaijan, and COP29 is being held in Azerbaijan, whose exports include, and are pretty much limited to, fossil fuels.
Fabulous.
Is this real life, or am I hallucinating? And last year at COP28, the same thing happened. It was held in the United Arab Emirates, one of the biggest exporters of oil on Earth. They hosted the conference aimed at cutting down oil use, where leaked documents revealed that the host planned to use climate meetings with other countries to promote deals for its own national oil and gas companies. Which shouldn't come as a great surprise, because the talks were chaired by Sultan Al Jaber, the chief executive of the National Oil Company and the United Arab Emirates climate envoy. I mean, I would say we're being gaslit, but of course we're being gaslit and gas-heated and oil-slathered. Meanwhile, it's virtually certain that 2024 will be the hottest year on record, as in ever, the European Union's space programme has found. 2024 is likely to be the first year more than 1.5 degrees centigrade hotter than before the Industrial Revolution, a level of warming that has alarmed scientists. But as scientists are just experts in possession of facts, nobody was remotely interested in anything they had to say. Meanwhile, those that could were busily voting for a know-nothing buffoon who just says anything that the oil and gas industry tell him to because they've given him a lot of money. And that's why the human race will extinguish itself. Because a few people aren't satisfied with an amount of money they'll never be able to spend if they went shopping 24 hours a day for the rest of their lives. They want more, an unlimited amount of more, and nothing will ever satisfy them. The human race has peaked, and it's all downhill, on fire, with a tornado behind us. Meanwhile, it's blooming freezing outside and greyer than a Reform Party conference. Britain's anti-cyclonic gloom weather will continue into this weekend after parts of the country were revealed to have seen just 18 minutes of sunshine in 11 days. Wow. Much of England and Wales has had mist and fog and low cloud every day since October the 28th, with the Met Office branding conditions dull, dismal and disappointing. You know what else was dull, dismal and disappointing?
Don't be rude.
Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
Next 2 weeks, at first dull, then rain, then dry, and we might even get some sun. Can you believe that?
No.
And then last week of November, first week of December. God, blimey. Don't time fly when you're out your mind. It's almost the last week of December and the first week of December. It's practically Jesus' birthday. And that period will include weather that can be described thusly: wetter and windier and drier. Yeah, I know that doesn't make any sense, but that's what they're saying. It could be wetter and windier and drier. The wettest conditions are likely across the northwest, of course, but overall temperatures most likely to be above average. Overall temperatures most likely to be above average? We'll take it. Jed texts, I know you will be personally disappointed with the events across the pond, but you are professionally golden for the next 4 years. And on a similar note, Rosie says, well, he's back in. I can't stand the guy, but yippee, you got 4 years of material. Can't wait to hear what callers are going to say, especially, and then she name-checks some people. Reckon it'll be a good night tonight, says Rosie. And Gaz says, look on the bright side, Nick, only 600 more shows until a new president. Well, I don't think so. I'm going to bet you right now he doesn't go anywhere. President for life. Now, I know it's against the rules, but when does that ever stop him? He ain't going nowhere. This is it forever. You think America's going to get another election? Okay. Okay. Daryl texts, he's back. And not only that, but in a few short years, we could have Kemi Badenoch as our Prime Minister. It could be worse. How? Well, read on and find out. It could be worse, he says. Imagine if at the same time our Foreign Secretary was Priti Patel. Bad news.
Oh, no.
I mean, really. Kemi Badenoch's cabinet. I mean, this went down about as well as her initial performance at the dispatch box and Prime Minister's questions. What an absolute clown show that was. And this is. Kemi Badenoch's full shadow cabinet has now been announced. Here's a breakdown of the geniuses that she's hired. Priti Patel. She's the shadow foreign secretary. She's the one that lied about holding unofficial meetings with Israel, was forced to resign. You remember that? Chris Philp, who always looks like he's in want of a vowel. Chris Philp, a shadow Home Secretary whose wife, a leading business person, was accused of corporate espionage and referred to the CPS while he was Policing Minister. Kevin Holdrake, Shadow Housing Secretary who owns a large property business, is a landlord and a former estate agent. Shadow Housing Secretary. I mean, it's also reminiscent of, I hire the best people. Laura Trott, Shadow Education Secretary who misused statistics and was accused of not knowing the basic facts of her job as Treasury Minister. Victoria Atkins, Shadow Secretary for the Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, who was accused of a massive conflict of interest while Drugs Minister, as it was revealed, her husband operated Britain's largest legal cannabis farm.
Want to score some pot?
Claire Coutinho, Shadow Secretary for Energy Security and Net Zero, who used to work at a think tank funded by an American multinational oil giant. No! She's the Shadow Secretary for Energy Security and Net Zero and has a history of working, even if indirectly, for an American multinational oil giant. Helen Watley, Shadow Secretary for Work and Pensions, who claimed 39 grand a year for a London rent on a home she owns, despite her home only being 50 miles from Westminster. And Andrew Bowie, not that one.
Rock and roll!
A Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland and Shadow Minister for Energy and Net Zero who pushes the 15-minute cities conspiracy theory.
Oh, fabulous.
You've got to be kidding me. I mean, that is going to be the gift that keeps on giving. I endorse these choices. Keep doing what you're doing, Kemi Badenoch. I've been waking up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and not being able to get back to sleep again ever since you know what. Because it just keeps, my mind keeps churning around and around about how awful it both is and it is bound to become. I have to switch it off, but I don't know how yet. He's in my brain. Your husband's in my brain, Melania.
I don't care.
She's not that bothered. Daryl says, no, I read that. Matt says, for Trump, it was either the White House or the jailhouse. Luckily for him, they drank the Kool-Aid. Luckily for you, four years of comedy gold. you should be like Nero, playing the fiddle while Rome burns. What? like this, you mean? That fiddle. Anthony says, Nick was wrong regarding Trump. What do you mean? Wrong? In what way wrong? But I don't know, because he didn't include any further information. Noah says, how many more of these have I got? Oh, God, I've only just started, and already it's getting out of control. This show was like this when I got here. Heston. Hello, Isaac.
Hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Two things.
Couple of
Let's get out of business.
Yes.
Yeah. Number one, Kenny Badenoch, yeah?
Is that your full thought on that subject? Kenny Badenoch,
Well,
I agree.
More details, right, okay. She should keep doing what she's doing. Good start.
Yes.
She'll be out in a year, 2 years max.
No,
So,
I don't think so, because the Conservative Party have made it more difficult to eject a leader.
What?
I think they're stuck
no.
with. Yeah, they're stuck with her now. By the way, some of those details I lifted off Twitter, an account called Best for Britain. That wasn't all my own work. I stole it. You believe that?
Anyway, Keir Starmer's got nothing to worry about. So,
not yet. Not for a while.
So the Labour Party are safe. Number two, Donald Trump.
Yes.
Right. Okay. America and the world, especially America, should get ready for Project 2025 and Trump 47. Okay?
Yes. I have detailed files on both of those things.
They want to get Project 2025 wrapped up in the first 180 days.
I'm going to do it on my first day. First day I'm in, I'll be doing all of that. Don't you worry.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, it sounded like it. What?
More thoughts later.
More thoughts later. Okay, I can't wait. I'm on the edge of my seat. I see me shiver with anticipation. Tariq texts, as far as I'm concerned, the USA is a failed state. How can they elect someone who says that he's religious, yet sees the Ten Commandments as a to-do list? Not a not-to-do list, a to-do list. Donald Trump is not a very nice person.
Donald Trump is a very nice person.
Well, I got that wrong. Maybe that's what that texter meant a little while ago, that I got it wrong. I thought that Donald Trump was not a very nice person, and I come to find out, completely incorrect in every respect. Do you want to hear that again?
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Okay, he's not a nice person. He's conflicted. Noah says, Putin, as in Rootin' Tootins, Putin's brave man is back. Trump win shows how many Americans still remain poorly educated in this richest country. But looking at the bright side, your show has plenty of quality material secured for the next 4 years. You're trying to cheer me up. And, yeah, all right, I'm significantly cheerier than, like 5 o'clock this morning, for instance. When I woke up, my head was going around and around and around, and it was like I couldn't stand it anymore. And I can't drink at 5 o'clock in the morning because, that'd be awful. So how am I going to stop it? Stop my brain going around? Whack myself in the head with a blunt instrument? Something like that, perhaps. Leave it with me. Martin says these yahoos have been persuaded by a bunch of grifters to vote against their own interest in favour of a few billionaires' interests. The billionaires added $64 billion to their wealth this week. Well done, lads. That's right, they did. They did. And then you've got ocean-going chumps like, Smee.
I don't know anything.
Who tweeted, or perhaps he had his man tweet on his behalf, that Donald Trump's win was, I can't remember these exact words, but really sticking it to the elites. How can you be that? I mean, if you actually read that and take that on board and you think, oh, yeah, that's right, Donald Trump's win is really sticking it to the elites, then that really does show a certain lack of learning.
I love the poorly educated.
The world's richest man, who surrounded himself with some of the world's richest men, whose combined wealth is probably greater than any amount that has been gathered in history, and their supporting of another billionaire is taking back control from the elites. Yeah, okay. I mean, what kind of nutcase would say that?
I'm a nutcase.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I'm not a big fan of his brain.
0345 6060 973. The first of two in a row from Maidstone. This one from a bloke called Tony. Tony.
Hi, Nick. Hope you're well.
Super. Thanks for asking.
That's all right. Before I talk about Trump, your lovely caller before Isaac mentioned Kenny Badnock. Do you watch PMQs?
No. I saw a clip, and she looked uncomfortable, to say the least.
She did. She was shaking. I think she was really poor performance. But what I was wanting to mention before I talk about Trump is Dame Priti Patel next to her. She's got her face on there, and she has the biggest poppy, and her face, the smirking face.
Oh,
I
that
thought it was quite
smirk! It's just so annoying.
Yeah, but she made sure she was next to her, and I don't know the one on the next. I think it was Mel Stride. I think I'm not sure, but it's just Priti Patel's face. Oh God, I can't stand that woman. Anyway, yes, Trump. Yeah, very disappointed. I think Biden should have... If Biden pulled out sooner, I think there might have been a little bit of a different result. But I was just saying to the old glamorous assistant, now, you just mentioned before that you think that he could change the Constitution and stuff like that, stay in power forever. I think he will be the next US president to be assassinated. That may be a difficult thing. I don't agree
Why, because
with it.
you feel it in your bones?
Yes, I do. I think he will be.
Well, what on earth is that to rely on? For feeling?
Yeah. I know. I don't want to say that.
All right, but you just did, though, Tony. And I would make sure that your affairs are in order, because I think in about 10 seconds flat, men in dark overalls will be bursting through your windows and spraying the place with gunfire. I would expect that any time soon. Thanks a lot, Tony. 0345 6060 973. Well, it is kind of ironic that for the last part of his campaigns, his campaigning, all his safe space rallies, the man who represents the party of the gun had to deliver his address behind bulletproof screens. Could the two possibly be in any way connected?
Yes.
0345 6060 973. So, as advertised, there's another one in Maidstone. Rob.
Hiya, Nick.
Rob.
Isn't it ironic? Somebody broke my irony meter this evening.
Oh, yes.
Well, because Trump's come back, and his mates all go, he was the most peaceful president, apart from lobbing cruise missiles into Syria, assassinating Soleimani in Baghdad, breaking the Iran nuclear deal.
Yes, and the big one, which was starting a civil war.
Yeah, and then they go, and Iran wanted to organise his assassination, and it was wrong because they were trying to kill somebody on foreign soil, which is exactly what he did to the guy who was in charge of the Iranian.
Yes.
So I'm a little confused.
Well, when Americans do it, it's right, and when Iranians do it, it's wrong. What's the confusion?
Maybe I was brought up that everyone's moral compass should point in the same direction.
Moral compass. You're funny.
Well, I tried.
It's ironic, like that song by, what's her name? Alanis Morissette. Correctamundo, which is a list of things that aren't ironic.
Although the other ironic one is that Dame Priti Patel's back on the front benches.
Oh, yeah.
And we haven't yet paid off the last civil servant that she bullied and got £300,000.
They're still waiting for their money, are they?
Well, yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of civil servants going, bring it on, bring her back.
Seriously, every time I hear that song by Alanis Morissette, and it's a good tune and all, but it's a list of things that are ironic, according to Alanis Morissette, who doesn't know anything about the English language because nothing that she says is actually ironic.
accept the fact that she said it, which is probably ironic given the fact of the song.
That's right. I hadn't thought about that. She's giving a list of things that are supposed to be ironic, and it's ironic that none of them are ironic.
There we go.
Wow, now you're really bending my brain. Thanks a lot, Rob. An old man turned 98, he won the lottery and died the next day. That's not ironic, that's just sad. It's a black fly in your Chardonnay. That's not ironic. It's a death row pardon 2 minutes too late. Well, that abuts irony, but I would say it wasn't quite it. It's like rain on your wedding day. What's ironic about that? It's a free ride when you've already paid. All right, I'll give you that one. It's the good advice that you just didn't take. Well, there's nothing ironic about that at all. This is a stupid song. It's a traffic jam when you're already late. That's not ironic. A no smoking sign on your cigarette break. Maybe. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a knife. That's no irony there. It's meeting the man of my dreams and then meeting his beautiful wife. Well, maybe. No, that's not ironic either. Alanis Morissette needs to seriously rethink that song. Can you pass that message on to us straight away? Get her on the phone right now, I mean it. Got a lot of work to do. Nadia takes, poor David Lammy is getting such grief due to his comments on Trump, but I've only heard one person mention what Boris said. You've played that clip so many times. Please play it again tonight. There is no evidence that Boris Johnson ever said anything bad about Donald Trump.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
If anybody has any evidence that Boris Johnson said something that was negative about Donald Trump, then they should certainly keep it to themselves.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
Because otherwise it might seriously impact the relationship between the United States of America and this great country here.
I think Donald Trump is clearly out of his mind.
So if anybody has a tape of him saying that, then please keep it to yourself. Because, we don't want to get screwed over because of the
great big greedy nincompoop.
Yeah, that great big greedy nincompoop. Christopher takes, oh no, your mate Donny Donut won the election. I blame you for being so rude about his supporters. It made them double down, for goodness sakes. There's been so many people trying to figure out who to blame for this. Oh, it was Joe Biden's fault for not ducking out earlier. Or it was Joe Biden's fault for endorsing Kamala Harris. Or it was George Clooney's fault for... I don't really know why. Somebody blamed George Clooney. What's it got to do with him? Or it's Beyonce's fault for not singing when she went to the rally with Kamala Harris. Or it's Kamala Harris's fault for being too positive. I mean, she was all wonder and love and light, versus the other guy who was...
The American dream is dead.
The Americans decided, no, that's the future that I'd prefer. I want to follow him. So it's not George Clooney's fault. It's not Joe Biden's fault. It's not Kamala Harris's fault. It's not Tim Walz's fault for waving like that, for crying out loud, or any of that. It's the American people's fault. It's specifically the fault of Americans with a low educational achievement, because those are the ones that love him the most. And that's not just me saying that. That's not me being insulting. Look at the facts. I know that no one's interested in them anymore, but the demographics do suggest, in bold and capital letters with lots of exclamation marks, that it's the places where I think less than 15% have a college degree or higher. Those are the ones that love Donny the most, because they just take on board everything that he says, and they don't look up anything to try to dissuade them from what they've just heard. They hear what they think shouted back at them with the accompaniment of bizarrely YMCA by the Village People. Why that song? I don't think any of this crowd actually got it. If it was a joke, then it seems like a bizarre one to make. But overall, you can only blame the people that put a tick next to Donald Trump's name. In other words...
I love the poorly educated.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
He's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. Brian says, did you hear that the M1 turned 65 this week? 65 this week. And in celebration, a Hillman Imp crashed into a Rover TC2000. Nadia texts, poor David Lammy is getting such grief due to his comments on Trump, but I've only heard one person mention what Boris said. I'm getting déjà vu. If only the French had a phrase for déjà vu. Yes, no, I'm fully aware of that, and I have detailed files. Mike says, in the hope of foregoing good relationships with Trump, do you think that skier should bite the bullet and harness Farage's friendship with Donny and put him up for the position of... Can I say that? Put him up for the position of... I'm not sure I can say that. I think it's a post that would suit his unique abilities, said Mike. But now you don't know what it is, so it's absolutely pointless having read that in the first place. And I apologise.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
Totally screwed. I mean, I am.
Don't know how sorry I am.
You just don't know how sorry I am.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Apologetic. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Lincoln. Hello, Keith.
Hello, Nick.
Keith.
You all right?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, a chap earlier said that the Labour Party's got nothing to worry about. I mean, I'm 81, and
81.
I've been Labour all my life, and I believe Farage when he says he's got thousands of people waiting to stand in the local elections.
Oh, are they the same calibre that he has at the moment?
You could be right.
Have they all been thoroughly checked?
Nutters. Yes, the right nutters. But, you know, the serious point is, as you probably know, Nick, it doesn't take much to become a Labour councillor or a Tory councillor. A few hundred votes can do it. You know, and I think, seriously, Starmer has got to be concerned. And the biggest point, and I don't know if you know this or you want to discuss it, but in Lincoln, and the underlying, I think, all over the country about immigrants, it's very, very strong. Lincoln is not the same as it was 5 years ago. I mean, there's 12 barber shops within a mile.
Right. Well, then that's no waiting.
I agree, you know, but, I mean, I think Farage, now he'll be boosted by his mate winning again.
But hang on a minute, let's go back to the barber shops. Are you complaining at the number of available barbers?
No.
Well, it sounded like you were.
What people say is, and it's, where do they get the money from to open up I had a shop on Lincoln High Street years ago, but where do they get the money from to open these shops? I mean, Lincoln High Street now is like United Nations.
I have a theory. Well, you know, I mean, this country is a great place to, for instance, eat out.
It is.
Because of all of the people that came over here and cooked our dinner. I mean, we've got every kind of cuisine under the sun residing here.
I totally agree with you, Nick. Right. On all aspects. My barber is Italian.
Yeah. My barber's Iranian.
Yeah,
I think is one louder.
Yeah, it's not that. But what I'm saying, and I get this said to me all the time by people, the hospitals, doctors, schools, houses.
Yes. Right.
You know, I mean, you can say, oh, you're being racist. They're not being racist. They're just speaking what they feel.
Right. Now, would any of those people object to, when they turn up with blood coming out their ears, would they be objecting to being treated by somebody who wasn't born in this country?
No, but I'll tell you why, Nick. 3 years ago, I had open heart surgery, emergency, in the middle of the night.
Yep.
My surgeon, Polish.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean.
So he's the only reason you're speaking to me right now?
Well, absolutely, Nick. He saved my life in his team, middle of the night,
By the way, Keith, are you driving at the moment?
No, why?
Oh, is that it? When you said no, did you mean yes?
No. What are you trying to say, Nick?
It just sounds like you're driving at the moment, that's all.
Do you know, I'm going to say something now. You made me laugh 2 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Somebody was on about being protected at work, and they had this, that, and the other, and you quit very quickly off the cuff. You just said a gun. I know you don't understand that now, but at the time it made me laugh out loud, mate.
Well, I suppose you would had to have been there. I don't remember anything about it.
No,
but,
I know you don't. Yeah, I know.
I appreciate the thought. Thanks a lot, Keith.
But one more point.
Oh, and another thing, yes.
The ladies who come on, they're fantastic. The women who come on and talk to you, I think they're fantastic.
Well, let's not get carried away.
Okay, look, thanks, mate.
All right, cheers, Keith. That was very, very generous of him. Not just one or two, not named women, all of them. Fantastic. I'm not sure that's actually accurate. Mike says, no, read that one. I read some of that one. All that I think that I could have read without being prosecuted. Ma texts, I know what UK-US special relationships are. It's like yoga. Most I'm not sure I can read that one either. Come on, give me something I can read on the air. All of this X-rated material.
Disgusting.
You believe that? Martin texts, a lot of bad news this week, but at least our favourite band, Carbon-Based Life Forms, have announced a tour visiting the Netherlands and Britain with shows in Amsterdam, Brighton, London and Manchester. Groovy. Carbon-Based Life Forms. I would imagine that most people haven't heard of them, but if you ever fancy horizontal chilling, yowza, then that is the band for you, because and the only difficulty you have when one of their albums comes to an end is, what can you put on that's even more chilled than that? And I don't believe anything exists other than perhaps the sound of wind or waves gently lapping on the shore. It is it always presents a difficult, because when I come to the end of one of their albums and I'm in that kind of laid back mood, I think, well, the only place to go from that is to play another album by Carbon-Based Life Forms. I mean, there isn't anything that I know that is more chilled than that. Ooh, with the possible exception of Global Underground, and the album that's just named after the length of the how long the album actually lasts for. I think it's 75 minutes 12, something like that. It's got an ear on the cover. That's Global Underground. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. 0345 6060 973. Belfast. Brendan.
Thank you. How you doing, sir?
Good, thanks.
I have to agree with everybody else. You've got 4 years of fantastic material.
Right,
Could I just say...
Assuming the world doesn't blow up before then.
Oh, no. The world is too busy laughing to... nobody wants to leave the world at the minute. It's too hilarious. But
well, you hope that this series can come back for a new one. That it will end on a cliffhanger, but we'll hope that their new series is in the can. Yeah. Like White Lotus.
The thing is, let's talk about the British and the American special relationship. And
there isn't one. It's only in our mind.
Well, there is a certain degree of truth in that it used to be that the English had the best music on the planet. There was no doubt about that. And they exported it throughout the world.
Well, I'd have to say it's the other way around. I'd have to say that we took America's music and made it our own and then sold it back to America. But America had the idea first. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Well, then you could say Africa had the idea first, but let's start with America.
That's not, you see, we could go right back to...
but let's not do that. But let's start with 1940s, let's say, jazz and then blues and all of the rest of it. And then we took all of that and then we sold it back to America.
Rock and roll!
Yeah, big money.
Yeah, but what's a twist? And particularly, that's a twist again.
Yeah.
But anyway... I want to make my point, if you're going to let me.
There's a point?
Yes. The special relationship is that England is now 2 steps in the parallel universe behind America. in so many respects. So that the right-wing Trump administration and all the GOP people and the business people and Elon Musk and, profiteers, they're all saying that the Mexicanos, we don't need your kind around here. They're all claiming over the wall, and they're rapists, mentalists,
murderers, and some are nice people, I suppose. Yeah.
No, they're not.
No, that's what he said. He said they're murderers and they're rapists, and some are nice people, I suppose.
Yeah, but they're only the ones that serve him drink that he doesn't have to pay. But anyway, so they're all claiming over the wall, rapists, mental asylum seekers, drug dealers.
Yeah.
In England, they've copied that, and they've said that the boat people, the small boat people, are rapists,
murderers,
and murderers, scumbags.
That's
so,
right.
and they're all coming over to America and to England to steal the jobs. So, what kind of a job do you have to be worried about that?
Yeah, the jobs that they're taking are the ones that we don't want to do. They're not coming in and fighting us for those jobs. They're doing things that are open to be done, and the vast majority of them that are coming in are waiving a visa because they are already tasked with doing one of those jobs. The company involved actually sought them out. They're coming over here to pick our fruit.
Nick, I've never seen a queue. During the summer months, I've never, ever seen a queue of white Indigenous folk standing up and queuing, complaining that they can't get picking fruit.
Yes. No. Never.
That's never happened.
The only time we ever picked fruit in this country was on those strawberry farms in the 1970s, where you could go along and fill your punnet, and you'd fill it with so many strawberries that you wouldn't know what to do with them, and you'd end up throwing half of them away, unless Mum made jam with them.
My mum was a potato picker, by the way, but
wait, you've got to hang on, wait. You have to not put a pause in your sentence if the pause comes after "my mum was a potato picker."
A potato picker.
Yeah, but you didn't say it like that. You said my mum was a potato, which is a terrible thing to say about your mother.
Well, sure. She was from Navan, so there's a Navan weight. But anyway,
I've got no idea.
Can I get back to Trump?
Okay.
Can I get back to Trump?
And finally. Mm-hmm.
Finally, yeah, thanks. The thing about the Trump result was that Trump had 4 years to do nothing else except ridicule, criticise and degrade the Democrats, no matter who they threw up. Sleepy Joe,
the
liar.
He had all these cute, childish names for people,
Yeah.
Which resonated with a lot of people who didn't do too much thinking.
Well, when you look at the figures, only 51% of Americans voted.
No.
So,
no.
Half the country...
No. That's not right.
It was.
I very much doubt that is correct.
It is
it's
correct.
one stat that I haven't actually looked up. Turnout, US... there's absolutely no way it was as low as half.
It was.
Voter turnout,
of those entitled to vote, only 51% turned out.
No. I just don't believe that. One moment, please.
Well, okay. You may not believe it, but it doesn't make it any less of a fact. But the point I was...
Well, where did you get this so-called fact?
Because if you look at the population of America, and, well, besides the state of, or not the state, what is it, Columbia is different from the 50 states?
D.C., you mean?
Columbia is not a state.
District of Columbia, no. It might have been had Kamala won, but she didn't win, and as that little area votes left, the votes Democrat, it probably never will be.
No, but listen to me, please.
Oh, God, you're still going on.
But you're... Columbia has a totally different voting system from the other 50 states.
If you say so.
Oh, come on. It is. It's an aberration. It's a district of Columbia.
Yeah.
It's not a state,
right.
But it still has electoral college votes.
But what's your point, though?
The point is that there are many anomalies in the electoral processes of the United States of America. There are many. 51% turned out, right?
No, I just don't believe that that's true. 51%, no.
Okay, so you don't accept that, but let me just say that Nick Abbott doesn't accept it. It was 51%.
No, it wasn't.
Out.
It was over 60. Over 60%.
No, it wasn't. No, it was not. It was over 60. Nick, wait. It was over 60 if you count all the people in the states that voted. But those who were registered and legible to vote, adults over 18, only 51% turned out. You're counting...
Oh, you're saying that there was a greater number of people who weren't even registered. They couldn't even be bothered to get registered. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
and not only that, but they were legally entitled to, which is different from saying I don't want to vote. It's a subtle but important difference. But the thing I wanted to say, the whole thing I might call, do you know why I phoned early? I normally phone late. The whole reason I phoned early was because I want to sit back, have a drink, and enjoy the show.
Oh, you haven't had that already? No, okay. All right, I've got to go, Brennan. It's if that wasn't the point, then I have in a brief 3-hour show, I can't wait to hear it. I mean, I'm not saying that I can't wait to hear it. I'm saying I can't wait in order to hear it. Eligible voter turnout. US voter turnout projected to be around 65%, which I do believe, I'm no expert, but I think that that's higher than 50. 65% with more than 158 million ballots counted, according to data from the University of Florida's... Oh, University of Florida.
Oh, fabulous.
Well, forget everything that I just said. It could be any number. They've no idea.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Right, so I have done homework. Can you believe that?
No.
Just during that course of that break, I discovered the following. There's 158 million ballots counted. I'm assuming that... Now, does that count Nevada and Arizona, who are still counting? Still counting. They're going like 1, 2... Get on with it. But I believe it's 158 million ballots counted. There's 258 million adults over the age of 18 in America. So that means it was 61% of the adults in America actually could be bothered to go out and vote. And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts. I mean, okay, many of you got it wrong, but, better luck next time. Jeff says, things are bad, yes, but we all know why. Meghan Markle, totally to blame. Yeah, thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. Boo! Is there anything that woman will not do to try to make us suffer? Michael says, my math might be wrong, but Sainsbury's have 800 million customers a year, so that's around 20p per customer extra a year to cover their increase in prices because of Labour and the terrible Jeremy Corbyn. Yeah, I think you've got Meghan Markle. It also had something to do with it. Interfering with our business, yet again. Chris says, to avoid drinking at 5 a.m, why not try... Yeah, well, this is a good idea. Why didn't I think of it before? To avoid drinking at 5 a.m, why not try injecting bleach or shining bright light into the body, says Chris. Yeah, I got that from a guy, well, he might not be a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
And he might not know anything.
I know nothing.
But, I thought I might as well go and try it anyway. Yeah, I'm going to shine a bright light into my body. Don't ask me how. Lindsay says, Priti Patel looks like she's chewing a wasp and enjoying it. Yes. That's the important part. And enjoying it. Yes. I mean, good grief. I read the list of Kemi Badenoch's shadow cabinet, and each one seemed to be funnier than the last. Robert Jenrick, Justice Secretary. I mean, that was a peak moment. But the rest of them, I mean, good grief. Like I said before, I endorse these choices. You have my full support, Kemi Badenoch. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't change a thing. Helen in Harrow says, I'm going to Tenerife on Sunday and the temperature will be 28 degrees centigrade. That's 82 Fahrenheit. I will be listening when I can. Yes, thank you, Helen, but we don't wish to know that. Cumbran. Hello, Philip.
Hello there.
Hello there.
I'd like to pose a question. If we didn't have social media and the technology that we have today, I beg the question that Trump might not have won because the split in countries, the division, the nationalism and the extremism can be fed, obviously, on social media. Every individual person can go on there if they want. They can make these comments without thinking, because a lot of them have got no brains. And I do worry that social media technology is taking politics and leading it into a dark area.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And that's the reason that Elon Musk bought X, by the way. He didn't buy Twitter in order to make it sing. He didn't buy it in order to make money. He bought it because it was the world's biggest megaphone that it was actually for sale.
Yeah. The second point I want to make is that every president since the war has stood by the Atlantic Alliance. And if Trump does have some sort of agreement with Putin and they give him some of the Ukrainian territory, I personally don't trust Putin. He could then invade Europe, which then comes to my other point. We should have a united Europe. It's never going to happen, but it's more urgent that Europe should be united. We can't rely on the US anymore.
No.
There should be a United States of Europe. It's never going to happen.
But there are. It's called the European Union. Or do you mean a united armed forces?
I mean a proper United States of Europe, like the United States, where all the individual countries in Europe, it will be a federal system where that's what a proper. What we got is not a real united Europe.
But why would it be preferable? What could you do with a United States of Europe that you can't do with the EU?
Well, a United States of Europe would be more cohesive. It would be more. The problem is you've got the individual countries; they won't stick together. You've got Orban in Hungary saying certain things. They are not that united.
Well,
now, we're in a world.
I think they're more united than disunited. By which I mean nobody is itching to leave the European Union.
No,
not one of them.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree. But we're in a world now where we need to stand up as Europe has to stand up against America, against China.
They may do it. We, on the other hand, will not be part of that gang because we decided that it would be much better for the country to be Johnny No-Mates out in the cold, kicking a can around playground, and hoping the bully doesn't pick on us. That's the decision that we made. And we're sticking to it because a dwindling number of old geezers have set their life on it improving our circumstance, and they won't be satisfied until it does, which by my watch will be never. Can we pencil you in for never?
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Like to punch him in the face.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yes, sadly, this is it. A new book by the chief architect of Project 2025, a controversial policy plan for a second Trump term, repeatedly employs imagery of fire and burning, including calling for right-wingers to burn away the rot of American institutions and organizations deemed opposed to conservative aims. See, this is one of the reasons that I am conflicted about this, because many people are saying, like Valerie says, texts, "You've comedy gold in your hands for both here and in the US for the next 4 or 5 years. Trump would be the first US president in history to pardon himself. Nixon could have done it in 74 but resigned, and Ford gave him a full pardon." Yeah. And so I am conflicted because, yes, it might be good material for me, whereas Kamala Harris, I mean, really... Boring! I mean, she'd have just been boring, in much the same way as Keir Starmer is boring, as opposed to...
I can't comment on that.
That one. As opposed to the great big greedy nincompoop.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
That great big greedy nincompoop. I mean, it was funny, but it was also sad. But the thing with Trump is that he might be personally amusing, even when he's not trying to be. But the people around him aren't. They're scary. They think they've got God on their side. Kevin Roberts, president of the Far-Right Heritage Foundation, advocates a long, controlled burn of targets, including, but not limited to, everything. OK, slight exaggeration. This is a short list of the things to burn down that is occupying Trumple Thinskin's brain. The bloke who wrote the blueprint for the Armageddon that is about to come. He wants gone the following. The FBI.
What?
He wants that gone. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Gone. The New York Times. Burned down. Every Ivy League college, which are the ones that you've heard of. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, all of those. Gone. That's one of the first things that dictators do when they ascend to power is get rid of all the people who wear glasses. All of the smart people. J.D. Vance said it. He said, professors are the enemy. In other words, education is the enemy. Which is why Trump said this.
I love the poorly educated.
It's absolutely extraordinary. He tells you to your face that he is picking your pocket and conning you. And his fans say, he couldn't possibly be picking my pocket and conning me. We just want President Trump. Those people. So he wants gone the FBI, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the New York Times, every Ivy League college, all of those, they're the ones like America's Oxford and Cambridge universities. Can you imagine a person being invited to write policy for the Prime Minister of this country saying that we should burn down Oxford and Cambridge universities? I mean, even metaphorically speaking, you'd think he was nuts. Oh, and he wants to destroy the Boy Scouts of America.
What?
The Boy Scouts of America. Wants to burn it down. With the toggles and the knots and the... I have no idea what they do, but the man who wrote the blueprint for the second coming of Trump wants to destroy the Boy Scouts of America. Roberts' book, Kevin Roberts is his name, Dawn's Early Light, Taking Back Washington to Save America, is going to be published next week. Shortly after which, from the gates of hell will pour locusts and pestilence and disease and fire and brimstone and basically everything that is dark and evil in the world. And Trump tried to distance himself from this book and Project 2025 in the run-up to the election, including by lying about not knowing Kevin Roberts. And publication was postponed until after Election Day, presumably so that the American public couldn't read about what was to come. And now Trump's won, we can all read about it. Forthcoming attractions, bonfires everywhere. He wants political purges of the government and legal attacks on groups, including women and gays. And the whole of that LGBTQ+, because, of course he does. the man who wrote the plan for Trump's second term in office, writes, "Fire has the potential to destroy. To escape our current darkness, restore America's civil life and take back our country for good, Conservatives can't merely continue putting out fires. We must be brave enough to go on the offensive, strike the match and start a long, controlled burn." What's controversial about that? I mean, these are the people that are going to be in charge. Donny's going to be on the golf course. He doesn't care about anything but the money, honey. That's all he's interested in. It's just one big con for him. All of that politicking stuff, that's work. Somebody else can do that. He'll be on the 19th hole cheating. And so this guy, who one of the major contributors to Project 2025, which is our future, regardless of whether you live in America or not, he writes, "There's plenty of fuel. Like dead wood in a forest, many of America's institutions have been completely hollowed out, decadent and rootless. These institutions only serve as shelter for our corrupt elite." What is it with these people? If they aren't millionaires, they're billionaires, and they're always going on about destroying the elite. Hey, newsflash. If you've got a small yacht to ferry you back and forth to your bigger yacht, you are the elite. The actual world's richest man, backed by a small army of the richest people that have ever existed, are painting themselves as the ones to save the people from the elite. You know,
the little people.
Not leprechauns. And who would be stupid enough to believe that?
I love the poorly educated.
That clip's going to get hot. It's going to get used so much. You know, the 73 million who voted for a man who's like Cartman out of South Park, crossed with Biff Tanner, dipped in dye they used to colour prison-issued dungarees, which he won't be seeing ever, because he's now been given the same powers to do anything he wants without consequence that a feudal king would be envious of. Oh, please. Not now. Later. Interesting, by the way, how that the royal family are evil slum landlords and they charge the NHS £11 million to park its ambulances on their royal land story disappeared in about 10 seconds flat. I mean, blink and you missed it. And the papers are back to telling us what a dreadful, conniving witch is Meghan Markle, who was pictured smiling while there's suffering in the world. How could you, Meghan? Anyway, back to the brains behind what's about to happen to us all during the second coming of Mandarin Jesus. This guy writes, "For America to flourish again, they don't need to be reformed, they need to be burned." America's institutions. A nice start would include every Ivy League college, the FBI, the New York Times, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, the Department of Education, 80% of Catholic higher education, the Boy Scouts of America, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the financial firm BlackRock, the World Economic Forum, the Chinese Communist Party, and the National Endowment for Democracy, and the Loudoun County Public School System, which, in case you're wondering, is woke.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they wanted to change their school names to a name that doesn't celebrate slavery. Is there any more?
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, BlackRock, a major financial firm, has been a key investor in Trump Media and Technology Group. You know, the screaming memes social media company that no one uses, that doesn't make a profit, and hardly has any advertising on there at all, and is bizarrely worth billions and billions of dollars. I mean, you know, this guy's got a match. This one of the chief architects of Project 2024, and he's was 2025, isn't it? And he's itching to start a fire. He wants everything gone, which might actually be entertaining. Because if BlackRock is giving Donald Trump money, and the guy who's writing the script for Donald Trump's next term wants to destroy BlackRock, then I think fists will start flying, metaphorically speaking. It might be entertaining. Get the right-wing billionaires to fight it out among themselves. They could throw their chauffeurs at each other. Or they could load their chauffeurs in one of those circus cannons and blast away. So that's an indication of where we're going. The world's richest and most powerful people whining that they don't have the money or the power they want and determined to blow up every institution that they feel is holding them back or limiting their freedom or that crossed them in some way. And the people in the way, the collateral damage, are the ones that gave them power, who voted for this. They're the ones that are going to get hurt because billionaires don't get hurt. They have people that get hurt for them.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
Jim texts, if you think the situation is scary now, which one of Trump's sons do you think will take over the presidency when the orange one dies? Yeah, I don't think he's going to die. I think he'll find a workaround. I mean, how is he not dead yet? He only eats food that comes in a bucket. He's never done any exercise of any kind whatsoever.
Exercising is fun and it's nice.
He takes a golf cart to his golf cart. He seems to have evil coursing through his system. And yet he's got so much energy you could run a small power station off him. I don't think he's going to die. I think we're stuck with him forever. Jenny texts, Project 2025, only 54 sleeps. That's right. Only 54 sleeps, yeah. Crouch End, hello, Brian.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Yes. Since we're talking about Project 2025, we might as well start with Trump distanced himself from that, says, I know nothing about it. Yeah. Yet his name is mentioned in the 900-page manifesto 312 times.
Yeah, but apart from that, he doesn't know anything about it. Yeah.
He had. So, but yeah, it's just, I've been on hold for a while, so I've heard a lot of different perspectives here.
Craziness?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, there were fewer voters this time than the last election.
Yeah. But it was still over 60%.
Yeah.
Which, even that is incredible. 40%, almost half of the American people, having been pounded by advertising for about 3 years straight, thought, I don't know.
Yeah, well, there was about 140 million that voted this time and 155 million that voted in 2020.
Yeah.
But, it does boil down to what's been said many times over the last few days, that America was not ready for a woman president, and they're not going to be for a long time.
No, I don't buy that.
Well, they weren't going to go for her, and it was only 107 days that she had to campaign, where Trump was campaigning for 4 years. I heard it earlier on one of the other programs with the more conservative bent that
more conservative than this show.
It does exist, yes.
Okay.
But that that Kamala didn't pursue the conservative media, and obviously whoever was speaking did not know that she actually did an interview on Fox News, and that she pursued Joe Rogan, but they couldn't work out a time slot. And I'm flabbergasted by the fact that Joe Rogan has kind of become a kingmaker, because I used to know the guy in L.A., and I'm astonished that somebody whose whole act was based on testosterone, male influences, and we just want sex, that he's suddenly the man who they listen to. I don't know. He went from strength to strength. He's never suffered in the last 30 years or so since I first met the guy.
Yeah, it blows my mind. What is and is not successful? There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to it. You don't have to be able to connect thoughts. You don't have to be able to speak in sentences. You don't have to make sense at all. I mean, that's Donald Trump in a nutshell. it's just word salad, and yet it's kind of mesmerising, although after an hour or so, people did sort of get tired of it and they started to leave.
Yeah, and it didn't matter, that he had empty seats. While he's talking about these capacity houses, then the camera pans to the whole section.
There.
Yeah. And it wasn't just Trump that won too. I mean, it was all these horrible people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, they got reelected. Ted Cruz,
right?
We're stuck with those people again. And it is scary, but I'm glad I'm here.
Even in Crouch End, yeah. All right, all right. Thanks a lot, Brian. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, I'll say again, I don't think you can blame any of those people. You can't blame Kamala Harris, and it's not Joe Biden's fault, and it's not George Clooney's fault, and it's not Beyonce's fault, or Oprah's fault, or anybody like that. It's the fault of the people that crossed next to Donald Trump and thought, my life will get better if I believe in that guy. The guy who never tells the truth and is like an ocean-going crook. A crook and a con man. And what really gets me is the people who pretend to be religious. Those people. What kind of God is it that you worship that would bring you to vote for a man like Donald Trump, who is absolutely everything that Jesus wasn't? I mean, I don't know much about religion, but I do know that Jesus was nothing like Donald Trump. He was the opposite in every regard. And yet they pretend to be guided by God and are doing the absolute opposite of everything that God would do in their place. Phonies. Phonies. Using religion as a weapon is what they do. It's despicable. Paul says everyone saying Trump shouldn't have been called a Nazi and a KKK sympathiser should probably ask themselves why they're defending a Nazi and a KKK sympathiser. Well, one of the things that we have learned is that if you just ignore all the unspoken rules, then that'll probably go over very well with just enough of the electorate to win anywhere. I mean, if a doughy, know-nothing blowhard who was a game show host on the TV can take over the world's most powerful and rich political party first, and then the world's most powerful and rich nation, then it could happen anywhere. It could happen here. Easily. All you got to do is memorise some of Hitler's phrases. And he was trotting them out time after time after time. And they're easily researched. You can just look them up. Who came up with "Make America Great Again"? Well, it was the Hitler phrase, "Make Germany Great Again." The lying press, Ludenpress, that was Hitler's thing. Fake news is Donald Trump's thing. It's the same. These people are invading our country and weakening our blood. It's the same. They're animals. It's the same thing. He just... And it's commonly known that he used to, probably still does, read Hitler's speeches. I mean, he's admitted to having it by his bedside as nighttime reading, Hitler's speeches. And he just repurposed it, changed some of the words, and spewed them out, and the people loved it. Loved it. Gail texts, I've just been told by my husband that the word nincompoop is of Dutch origin and refers to a man who has never seen his wife's,
disgusting
area. Really? Really?
The great big greedy nincompoop.
I don't think so. Oh, my glamorous assistant has provided me with further explanation. It says, nincompoop, this is from dictionary.com. That is dictionary.com. Nincompoop has a history as unusual as its meaning. One hypothesis includes connections to the Latin phrase non compos mentis, meaning not of sound mind. Alternatively, nincompoop could simply be an elaboration based on ninny, which may come from innocent. Nincompoop was first recorded in English in the 1670s. The 1670s, Smug.
I don't know anything.
Yeah, he was there, but he still doesn't know anything about it. 0345 6060 973. Now, Cornwall, Malcolm.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Malcolm.
Very serious week, my friend, isn't it?
Yeah.
Hey, look, let's keep things real here, my friend. Donald Trump, I said it since 4 years ago, that there is no way Trump can win, because there is no way more people are going to vote for him. And Joe Biden beat him by 6 million votes.
Right.
Well, he didn't get any more votes than he did in 2020. But and this is where I disagree with you hugely. And we're not going to fall out because what I say is true. And it's this, Nick, right? That Kamala Harris she got 69 million votes. Joe Biden got 81 million votes. So she got some 12 million votes less than Joe Biden did.
Right.
Now, Joe Biden wasn't Barack Obama. And I say this, right? I think Kamala Harris was a really nice woman. Before the last election, when she was up against Biden for the nomination, I thought she's going to get it. But then the more you hear her speak, her gestures, her actions, just her whole being. And again, I emphasize, I think she's a really nice woman. She's a smart woman. She's a super smart woman. But
so
there's no
you're
way...
saying that she turned the American people off because of the way she presents herself?
No, because of the way she is. Nick, I could never be Prime Minister of Britain. I'm not a bad fella, but I know that people would not vote for me as much as they would, say, Keir Starmer or Tony Blair, so I wouldn't even stand.
Malcolm, it doesn't really, in my mind, it doesn't matter who the competition was. It was going to be against Donald Trump. How could you vote for him as opposed to anyone else, including you?
Well, look, I said he turned off, knocking off for 2 million people that voted for him last time. They did not vote for him this time.
Right.
So he got less votes, first and foremost, right? But again, I would emphasize, I'm not being negative about Kamala Harris as a person. I'm talking about her as a candidate for the presidency of the United States. She was, in my view, she was no better candidate than Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was a super smart woman. But there's no way, for one, are men in America going to vote as much as they would.
No, I don't buy that. I don't buy that. No, I can't trust you because it's just not true until it happens, Malcolm. We didn't have a woman Prime Minister until we did.
No, you may be right, Nick, and here's the reason why. There's one person who could have beaten Trump hands down, and that is, and I know it's a cliche to say it, but it's Michelle Obama.
Michelle Obama.
She would have absolutely peed this election, Nick. No question.
Well,
because
how is she different? Unless I've got it wrong. Last time I checked, she was a woman.
Yes, but this is the problem, Nick. She is super special, Nick. Michelle Obama is like Barack was. And they're black people. They are in a different league to Hillary Clinton and Harris.
Right. Well, we can go around and try to apportion blame, but I believe that the blame lies with the people who were persuaded by a con artist.
Now, let me give you another one. Neil Kinnock in 1982 or 92, and Blair, and now Keir Starmer. It's the individual, Nick, largely, but that's enough on that. Now, listen, I think that Trump is going to be in trouble because I think he is going to give Elon Musk a really, really big role, and it is to wipe out what you said, the elite, right?
But no, it's not to wipe out the elite. It's to get rid of the kind of red tape and rules and regulations that hold billionaires back.
So watch out for automated vehicles being suddenly overnight made legal.
Huge.
And Elon Musk will wipe out the taxi industry. He'll have a big impact on the lorry driving industry in America because Elon Musk...
By impact, you mean crash into?
No, but he will cause a lot of job losses. Now, Trump in time, Trump will weigh all of this up, Nick, and he can say, "Oh my God, what have I done? Having Musk anywhere near my presidency?" Because Trump,
yeah, it's going to be plenty longer than 4 years before they're going to have self-driving cars on the roads of America, because every crash will be picked over by lawyers, and people will get sued into a black hole in space. It's going to be dragging along.
Well, Nick, when you make the laws, you can give a person such as Elon Musk whatever powers he wants. And look, Musk is SpaceX. Musk is he's Tesla. Musk is he is God in America. They love him. We've got a radio presenter on LBC who worships him. He gets up every morning, goes into the shrine bedroom, and he worships at the shrine.
Who?
That's an LBC listener.
Oh, listener. Right. I thought you said presenter.
I did. I meant presenter. He's a presenter. And he worships Musk. And no names, right? And this is where we're at. There are people, Nick, in high places who think Musk, my friend, is God.
Right. The best description I heard of Elon Musk is that he's like a cuckoo. He gets into a nest where other people have found success. He pushes everybody out of the nest and then opens his mouth for the government to shove subsidies into it, and that's how he's become the richest person in the world. He's a cuckoo. Plus, he's cuckoo.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
Simon says, what did the Democrats expect? All Harris was about was abortion rights, decriminalisation of drugs and transgender rights. Well, I heard her talk about abortion rights with a very good reason. I didn't hear her say word one about the decriminalisation of drugs, which, by the way, Donald Trump is for. The decriminalisation of marijuana at the federal level.
Want to score some pot?
And as transgender rights, I didn't hear her say much, if anything at all, about transgender rights. Anyway, he says, whereas most Americans only care about the price of bread and gas and the stopping of illegals, and these leftists still don't get it after such a defeat. Well, the thing with that, Simon, is that people such as yourself don't get it. If that's what the Americans were interested in, the price of bread and gas and the stopping of illegals, then they voted for the wrong person. Because Donald Trump will immediately make the price of bread and gas go up because he is intent on slapping at least a 10% tariff on the importation of goods from anywhere. And if it's coming in from China, he's talked about a tariff of 100%. And he keeps telling his people that those countries will be paying the tariffs. No, they won't. It's astonishing that he keeps telling that lie. I mean, I assume that he knows what a tariff is and how it works, because it's very simple. But his supporters apparently don't get it. I read a report in one of the American papers about this plant in like a factory in Philadelphia, and the owner, after the Trump win, he sat his workers down. He said, "I'm really sorry, but I can't give you a Christmas bonus this year because I'm going to have to stock up for all of next year from China before the Trump tariffs come in. So I won't have any money to pay you your bonus this Christmas." And the response that he got was complete bemusement. They just didn't understand. Yeah, but Donald Trump told us that they pay the tariff. No. Americans will pay the tariff. Everything will become more expensive for Americans. And as for the stopping of illegals, well, Donald Trump detained and expelled 400,000 people during his presidency. Joe Biden detained and expelled 2 million people. So if that's really what was on their minds, then they voted for the wrong person. They allowed themselves to be conned by probably the world's most successful con artist. So don't feel too ashamed, But I know that you won't, because you'll just receive any information that does not already chime with what the dear leader has said as fake news. David says, my barber's a black sheep. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Ian. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that tariff thing up, because it's absolutely true. People are completely baffled by this.
Yes.
They think tariffs are good for them.
Yeah. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, pretty much everything you get is from China. Pretty much everything that you can reach out and touch right now was either made in China or had a component that came from China. Now, imagine if it was 100% more expensive just because your leader doesn't understand what a tariff is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I've brought this up a couple of times, and people look at you as though you're insane.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It's true. And I'll come back to a logic bit in a minute. But can I just go on to Bad Enoch and Skier on Wednesday? Minister's questions.
Yeah.
I could have got annoyed, but I didn't. I just fell about laughing. She asked him a question, and he replied. And then he said, whenever I ask the Prime Minister a question, he gives me a scripted reply from his advisors. Whilst reading from a script.
On a script, yeah, I know. Priceless.
You look at it and you think, I don't believe this.
If the rest of her leadership is as funny as this, we're in for a laugh riot.
But the other bit of logic is, both before the election and in celebrating Trump's win, his supporters said the world is unstable, it's dangerous, it's erratic. What we need is Trump.
Yeah, because dangerous, unstable and erratic have never been appended to his name.
Well, the point is that using simple logic, if the world is unstable, dangerous and erratic, what you need is somebody incredibly logical, stable and thoughtful.
Correct.
Not a lunatic to deal with it.
I think that it's actually quite sad, and it's actually quite simple. People feel as though, and they feel as though they feel this because it's true, they have been left behind. They work and they work and they work, and they're not getting anywhere. And they can remember back to a period in the 50s and 60s when America was just going great guns. I mean, people had a standard of living that we could only dream of in this country. They had fridges that were so big, and that some of them were about the size of a British flat. They had 2 cars in the driveway. They took holidays all the time, and, they had steak on the barbecue, and they were just doing fine. And then, since about the 1970s, they seem to be working harder, but getting less. And that's when the sort of accumulation of wealth at the very, very top really started to kick in. And it went nuclear, turbo blasted in the 1980s, since when pretty much all of the wealth that has been created by,
the little people,
all of us lot, has been hoarded by a vanishingly few number of people at the very top. That's why there are so many billionaires now, and their number keeps increasing, and the amount that they own keeps increasing, whereas everybody else just stays the same. We've flatlined pretty much for about 50 years straight. And so they think, well, we've got the Democrats in and the Republicans in, and, like the normal politicians, the pre-Trump, people who could actually speak in sentences that sounded like they knew what they were talking about. And none of that worked. None of that made any difference to me. So, okay, then let's get a crazy and unstable clown in, and we'll see how that works out for us. I mean, at least he hates all the people I hate, they think.
Yeah, I quite agree with you. What people like Trump, for God's sake, I forgot about this. In one of his acceptance speeches, Trump actually said, we've got a great guy over from GB, did fantastic in the elections, I give you Nigel Farage. And he stood up and did a Che Guevara salute. Farage stood up with a Che Guevara salute, and I'm thinking, I don't believe one. When he was saying this guy who's done great in the British elections, I'm thinking, what is he going to talk about Starmer? and it was Farage doing a bloody Che Guevara salute.
It doesn't matter whether he did do well or not. You just say it's true, and it becomes true for enough people to, make your day.
And it was, the look on Farage's face was like looking at a cold leaf.
I know. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
One thing that nobody's mentioned that people were talking about before the election was that this weird thing that Donald Trump kept saying at his rallies, and people were, what did he mean by that? Over and over again, he would tell his rallies, I don't need your votes. I have enough votes. You don't have to go out and vote. He said that at least a half a dozen times to my knowledge. And you thought, what does he mean? I don't need your votes. I have enough votes. This is before the election. How could he have had enough? And keep in mind that this guy can't keep a secret about anything. He keeps telling us what he's going to do, and then he does it. And so, what was that about? Why was he saying that he didn't need the votes, that he had enough votes already? And he also said, on the day, don't worry about it because we've got a cute little trick. And he looks off to his side and he said, we got a trick, haven't we? I'll tell you what it is when we win. What was that?
I can explain that to you, Nick. Right?
Go on.
There's a selling technique where what you do is offer something and then withdraw it. And what that means is people think, oh, yeah, I can have that. And then you say, no, you can't. It makes them even more attracted. They have to have it. And it's an established selling technique.
Oh, no, I understand that, yes. But he was asking, he was doing these rallies, presumably, to get people to go out and vote. He wasn't giving them something. He wasn't offering them something. He was asking them to do something for him, but was telling them, it's okay, you don't have to. I mean, if it's raining outside and, the wind's blowing a bit, relax, I've got it in the bag. I wonder if in 50 years' time, people are going to say, hey, you know what? He actually stole that election. He didn't win it at all, because they've been packing the counts with their own people. I mean, that was the mission for that guy who looks like a turtle, Mitch McConnell. That was his mission, is to pack the lower courts and the returning officers and the local sheriffs and all of that with their own people, who would then oversee the efficacy and the trustworthiness of the election. And nobody said a word about it since, as though if they could have done, they wouldn't have cheated.
Well, can I just say one thing on that point? That for ages before the election, it was people were saying this is a massive turnout. Massive turnouts will help the Democrats, and then it was a low turnout.
And then it wasn't. Yeah.
And I'm looking at this thinking, how can all the predictions of a massive turnout be wrong? And it did cross my mind. But can I have one last quick point, Nick?
Yeah.
Go on then. Right. People have been analysing what actually happened in the election. And if you study statistics, you'll understand what I'm saying here. After the election, people were saying, oh, young black voters voted much more of them voted for Trump. More women voted for Trump. More Hispanics voted for Trump. And what they were showing you was a percentage, which is a little bit like talking about inflation. If you don't understand what's actually happening, it looks as though Trump got a load more black votes, white votes, Hispanic votes. He didn't. The numbers were actually lower. But because 12 million Democrat votes went missing, that actually made it look as though those individual small minority groups voted more heavily for Trump. They didn't. The numbers were actually the same or lower than 4 years ago. And so people are reading into this, saying he appealed to this group, he didn't appeal to that group, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
It's actually, statistically, it's rubbish.
Yes, I saw the demographic breakdown, and it's white men mostly. I think like 55% of white men and something like 51% of white women voted for Trump, and all of the other demographics, Puerto Ricans, Asians, black people, and so on, massively for Kamala Harris. But they were outnumbered, of course, by their by the white voters, the ones in the middle of the country, where barely a human actually exists. It's mostly nothing there but either mountains or cows. That's it.
Yeah, so what I would just say is look at the numbers as well as the percentages, Nick. It gives you a completely different picture of what really happened.
Statistics, you say? Boring! Thanks a lot, Mike. Leave that with me.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. You're the best, worst person ever. Tony texts, rain on your wedding day would be ironic if you were marrying a weatherman. I'm still thinking that that's unfortunate rather than ironic. If you've tuned in late, then we were talking about that Alanis Morissette song. Isn't it ironic? Was it Alanis Morissette? One of those. And it's just a long list of things that aren't ironic, which is ironic. Anthony says it's the techno environment and how the techno environment has impacted rationality, there being a conflict in man's brain between the rational and the emotion. Faith in emotion is always uppermost. Does anybody understand that?
No.
Not just me. Martin says, talk of carbon-based life forms, which is my favourite horizontal chill-out band, says you must check out a song by a band called PC3, and the track is The Rise and Fall of the Bossa Nova. It's 13 hours long. I'd like to think they would play it as an encore, says Martin. Blimey, 13 hours. I'll tell you what's actually quite good is there's a track at the end of David Gilmour's new album, which is a jam, essentially, a very, very chilled jam in which nothing much happens, but it's a nice ride. And it was recorded in, I think, 2007, something like that, with Rick Wright, the keyboardist of Pink Floyd. And it starts and it just sort of chugs along, and it's 13 minutes long. But it's not a song as such, they just sort of noodle around on a theme. It's actually very good. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now, who's been waiting the longest? I'll be totally fair about this. Looks like Boston. Hello, Betty.
Hello.
Betty.
I believe why young women voted for Trump because of Barron. I think he's a real heartbreaker for young women. And all Harris sort of talked about was killing babies.
She wanted to kill babies?
Well, she seemed to do.
So people voted for Donald Trump because his son Barron is a heartbreaker.
They was attracted to, and his second in command was far better than Harris's second.
And Kamala Harris just kept on saying that she wanted to kill babies.
Well, she did.
Right. Okay, it sounds like you're giving that a lot of thought.
I know you're a number one Trump fan, but I just thought I'd add that.
Okay, well, it sounds like you did. Excellent work, Betty. As soon as anything else occurs to you, I want you to let me know straight away. Promise me you'll do that. Simon says, I'm in utter disbelief. Well, you and me, you and me both, mate. I am in utter disbelief that you are talking about carbon-based life forms on air. It's a band. They've got quite a few albums, and I've got every single one of them. I listen to them on heavy rotation, baby. He says, nothing compares to them, really. They contributed massively to my first psychedelic experience in Hungary back then.
Groovy.
Really? Derek texts, in the US, it's like America's Brexit. Will be buyer's remorse. Yes and no, in that order. There won't be buyer's remorse because the people that bought it will not allow themselves to admit that they've been had. Same with Brexit. The Brexit believers still think that they are in danger of having their Brexit prize being swiped away from them, even though they could not, under threat of death, name a single positive thing about Brexit so far. Not one single thing. And yet they seem to be most fearful, or more fearful than anything else, of having their Brexit prize taken from them. I mean, that bloke who looks like a melting waxwork, who signed our and negotiated our Brexit deal, he's still writing columns about, oh no, Brexit's in danger. What about Brexit will you miss most? You can't think of anything at all. And yet they do not admit that they've been had, because it's too much loss of face. And as I always say at the end of this, it's also too much loss of hope. And that's the sad part. Because I think you could lump the true Brexit believers in with the true Donald Trump believers. They feel like, with justification, that they've been left behind and the world isn't working for them. It used to. You used to get a decent wage for, a good day's work, and you could spend it in the shops on the things that you liked. Of course, back then in the 50s and 60s, we didn't have all of these, shiny things to waste our money on, like iPhones and, 65-inch TVs and all the rest of that. People could leave their door open because no one ever had anything to nick. But since then, you work and you work and you work, and some people are doing 2, maybe even 3 jobs, and they're not getting anywhere. It's just pedaling madly to stay in one place. And of course it's infuriating, because this isn't a rehearsal. You don't get to press reset and start again. This is it. And you get to a certain age and you think, well, it's not working for me now, neither has it ever worked for me. What can I do? Because I just keep voting for the same people over and over again, and they completely ignore me. And are in hock, essentially, to the people who have hoarded all the money, who describe themselves as wealth creators. No, they're not. They're not wealth creators. They are wealth hoarders. And in order not to pay what a reasonable person in the street might call their fair share, they hoard it offshore. And, buy themselves a solid gold palazzo with it. It doesn't run virtuously down. There ain't no such thing as trickle-down economics.
Absolutely.
Whether George W. or anybody who's followed him would say otherwise or not. So I sort of get this sort of wild lashing out, and I would not be surprised if we were... people keep saying, Nigel Farage is going to be the next Prime Minister. And I poo-pooed the idea because, it's Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government.
But it could happen here. Absolutely. I mean, if it could happen in America, if a doughy TV game show host who trowels on more makeup than Dolly Parton and has enough hairspray to punch a hole in the ozone layer...
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
Then if it can happen in America, then it can absolutely happen here. And don't believe otherwise for a single solitary second. And so our politicians better start addressing that. They better start addressing the fact that people have been left behind for no fault of their own. They feel like they're doing the right thing. They're getting up, and they're going out, and they're working, and they're not getting anywhere. And they see people who are getting in places, and, CEOs of FTSE 100 companies in the 60s used to earn 40 times the average wage of the people in their company. 40. I mean, that's pretty good reward for managing to scrabble your way to the top. 40 times more than the average. Now it's something like 300 times. And the difference is that they have awarded themselves that money because they can. And because they've, done as much as they possibly can to get trades unions out of their companies and and pummel the public on a daily basis to give them the idea that complaining about any of this stuff is the politics of envy. People, I can't express this enough. Wake up. It's later than you think. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
You're joking.
Oh, hello.
0345 6060 973. D-Tex, my first thought when Trump won was, Nick Abbott will be thrilled. You've now got material and we've got loads of laughs for the next 4 years. Laughing at you, Donny.
Don't be rude.
David Tex. You know, you mentioned that there were some US states that were still counting their votes. I suggest they call Cleverly in to finish the count. He's an expert at counting, isn't he? Well, Cleverly is, and so is Zaphod.
And 2
6 million.
6 million
is the correct answer. Yeah, I think that's how they counted Donald Trump's votes in like Florida. 1, 2, 6 million. He wins. Tony says, I have an audition to Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Oh, yeah. If I get through to a show, would you be one of my phoner friends? I think you could be useful. No, Tony. Don't pick me. And furthermore... Oh, where did that go? And furthermore...
No,
there it is.
No.
Finally. No, I don't know anything about anything. Don't ask me anything. I don't have a specialist subject that I would know anything about. I mean, I don't even know anything about radio. I don't know anything about geography. I certainly don't know anything about history.
Boring.
Ugh, bunch of names and dates. Awful. No, I would be a terrible person to have as a phoner friend. I mean, it would be sheer dumb luck if I knew the answer to anything. Frank texts, let's melt old people. I don't know what that's in relation to, but, well, we should certainly, put it on the table. Or put it, we're constructing a list of things to do, to at least consider, and melting old people should be, at the very top there or thereabouts. 0345 6060 973. And just as I was ranting on before the news about hoarding wealth and, taxing the rich and so on, and the answer that you always get back is, well, that's the politics of envy. That it's just you being jealous. But it's almost as though people have been programmed to think that, because you just get the same stock answers again and again and again, which I do believe that people have just read in a newspaper. They'll pick up the Mail, and who's totally hyperventilating about the prospect of some expat who's being asked to, pretty please with sugar on top, would you mind paying your way? For the obvious reason that, that's who owns the paper. Same with the Telegraph, same with the Sun, and so on. And the thing with the farmers seems to me to be the same, out of the same drawer. Because almost all farmers in this country will not be affected by the increase in tax that Rachel Reeves announced in the budget. And yet the noise that's been coming off them is just unbelievable. And finally, a farmer, an actual real-life farmer, wrote this, and this appeared in The Guardian today, or yesterday as it is now. Should multimillionaire landowners benefit from a tax break designed to help small family farms pass down their land to their children? Well, the answer to that from me would be no. Labour has reintroduced 20% inheritance tax for farms that are valued at more than $1 million, meaning that children of farmers will no longer inherit land tax-free. Granted, 20% is still only half the standard inheritance tax rate, and it probably sounds more than generous to an ex-miner, foundry worker or shipbuilder, but today £1 million would only buy you 100 acres of farmland, which is far short of a viable farm. Right. But it's not that, though, is it? It's not £1 million, it's 3 million, which is at least 3 times as much if you count houses, or 10 times as much if you don't count a house, as what the rest of us are subject to. For most farming couples passing on their land and their primary residence to their children, you effectively get the allowance twice, so that's 2 million already, and then for the majority of farms, they'll have a house on it, so you get up to 3 million. So this 1 million thing is basically PR from the people who are actually at fault. And I'll come to that in a minute, because this goes on for just a bit longer. He says we should be honest about where the loudest opposition to this policy is coming from. The unintended consequence of the tax break given to landowners has been to inflate land prices and effectively exclude new entrants who do not stand to inherit by making buying their first field unaffordable to most of the people actually doing the farming. The people who have bought up all the land aren't farmers. The people who have bought up all of our land and made it too expensive for actual farmers are billionaires and, at the very least, millionaires who are trying on a tax dodge. He says it should offend all farmers with mud on their boots that multi-millionaire landowners who are helping to make farming less affordable for genuine farmers are claiming to represent us. And the arguments that I've heard from ordinary people who aren't farmers, who are calling in and saying, oh, this is an absolute disgrace and typical blooming Labour, and it's the politics of envy. You're being had. Farmers already have about, depending on whether a house is involved, either double or 10 times the allowance before tax, and then they only pay half the percent that the rest of us do. And they're still complaining. According to research based on HMRC data, an average of 900 million in inheritance tax relief went out to about 1,300 estates each year between 2018 and 2020. 200 estates claim more than... two-thirds of that went to 200 estates, with an average estate valued at 6 million. So the government's own analysis suggests that 73% of estates with agricultural property will not be affected by the new inheritance tax changes. But it's not the ones that are making all the noise that are the ones that won't be affected, because the ones that are making all the noise have hoovered up the vast amount of land. Because they're not interested in the farming part, they're interested in the tax dodge part. He says, given that most of the benefits of this tax loophole are going to the very richest landowners, closing it, that loophole, seems like a fair change. For those who are pushing the hardest against this change to inheritance tax, don't be fooled. They do not represent farmers. They represent the super rich who do not want to contribute their fair due and are simply buying up our country to keep more money and assets for themselves. Writes an actual farmer, Guy Singh Watson, founder of organic veg box company Riverford and a member of the patriotic Millionaires UK Club. He grows organic vegetables on 150 acres in Devon and 300 acres in the French countryside. And I think the French land is valued at about 1/10 of the British land. And you could say that there is more land in France, but also they don't have that same tax dodge. And he sold Riverford in 2018 to its 1,000 employees, and the company is now 100% employee-owned. How about that? What a guy! So don't be fooled by that tsunami of ire that came your way, and you think, oh, well, they're doing terrible by farmers. No, they're not. 0345 6060 973. And it's the hoarding of wealth that is causing this discontent, is my overall point. The reason for Donald Trump and the reason for Nigel Farage and the reason for, the rise of the right in Europe is specifically because people just think that the game is rigged against them. And the reason they think that is because it is. 0345 6060 973. Plymouth, hello, Julie.
Hello, Nick. Are you well?
I'm super. Thanks for asking.
Good. I agree with you about leaving people behind, and then the people left behind just want to blame the wrong people. They go down instead of up.
That's correct, yes.
And it seems so obvious that it's the people above us that have the money and the power, and the people below us have much less than even us.
But
weird.
the people above us have megaphones, and they yell at the public on a daily basis that it is the people below them on the ladder pulling them down, not the people above them on the ladder pushing them down.
Yeah, what you were saying about what Trump was saying in his speeches, well, maybe that was, he knew Elon Musk was, I mean, obviously there was that whole giveaway, if you registered to vote, giveaway all those hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Millions.
And then
$1 million a day.
Yeah, $1 million a day. Only he could do that. And then also the sort of campaign that, I mean, I'm not on X, Twitter, I'm not on social media, so, but I believe he pushed his campaign. But definitely Donald Trump looked less surprised than the rest of us. Which did make me wonder what has happened.
Yes.
Did you watch it, or did you set your alarm for 5 o'clock?
No, I didn't. I woke up normally and tentatively turned the computer on and couldn't quite believe it. I went to bed thinking for sure that Kamala Harris was going to win, because it was a choice between the light and the dark.
Yes.
And America chose the dark, if we are to believe that the result was honest. But if Trump had lost, of course the result would not have been honest.
No, of course not.
And it would have been a fix, and they would have cheated, and all of the rest of it. And every time Donald Trump accuses somebody of doing something, it is a confession. He cannot help himself. He keeps accusing the other side of what he himself is doing. So there must have been cheating going on in some way. It's just how widespread was it?
Yes. I mean, it's strange, actually, because the polls aren't really getting their heads around this, and also the broadcasters, because, again, I think a few hours before the end of the voting period, he started his rhetoric of, if we lose this, then, we're going to be stolen again. So and people were saying, well, why is he saying that? If he knew he had it in, if he knew he had it in the bag. But again, it's that thing. It's he puts it out there first, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And then we can't come back on him. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe, like you say, 20 years' time we'll find out. But I feel for the people of America. I mean, I feel for all of us. But at the end of the day, I mean, they've got to live with it like we had to live with Brexit. It's not right.
A lot of people are going to die. I mean, it's as bad and sad as that. A lot of people, including a lot of people who voted for him, who are hoping that their life is going to improve, just like people voted for Brexit hoping their life would improve, because that's what was written on the tin. Do this and you will reap the rewards, they said. And they did it dutifully. They voted to leave the European Union. And where's the reward? Okay, so we find out that we've been lied to.
And who are they blaming?
Well, they're continuing to blame the immigrants that made them vote for Brexit in the first place.
Yes, and now Labour. It's all Labour's fault. Yeah. Oh, I was going to say to you, I had a bad omen when I put on the broadcaster I watched that night, and the panel was Boris Johnson, Stormy Daniels, and do you remember Sean Spicer, the press secretary in the White House? It was like, oh my God, this is the panel from hell. And it was like, there's something wrong here. I should have known. Then I should have went to bed then.
Yeah. A panel including deplorables. I wouldn't say all of them were deplorable, but
most. Miss Daniels was probably, I'm not including her in it, but again, bless her, she's having to sit in between them two. Yes, but
why was she there other than as a stunt? I mean, we were expecting to hear her expert political analysis. Why was she there other than as a stunt?
Yes, I think, why was Boris there? All he was doing was trying to flog his book.
Yes.
And the other chap, I don't know how he came back after Saturday Night Live pulled him apart, Mr. Spicer, but and I think he's still supporting Trump. It's like that man, sort of dismantled you into a nervous wreck.
And he will do the same to all of those people that he's hired this time around. I mean,
Excuse me.
I don't know. I guess people believe themselves to be exceptional and think, well, no bad thing can happen to me. I mean, that's why people drive the way they do, like crazy people. You know, I'm special in some way, so nothing bad can ever happen to me. And that's probably what those people that Donald Trump are hiring now are thinking. Now, just cast your mind back to what happened to all the people that Donald Trump hired last time around. I mean, the ones that didn't go to jail want nothing to do with him because they're traumatized and they're exactly. I mean, everybody is run over by the bus with Trump, and it's not going to change because he's not a person who changes.
Maybe Musk will bring him down when their bromance ends in tears.
Well, if it's a fight between the two, you know, Elon Musk has got the money to sort of wall himself off from the world, but Donald Trump's got the fans who could break right through it. And I don't think any of it's going to end well for any of them or us.
Oh, Nick, I'm going to give up the news and just listen to you, I think.
Yeah,
all right, so keep it nice and calm.
Probably
and
a very
cheery.
good idea. Yeah, happiness all the way.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks a lot, Julie. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, just be happy that we're 3,000 miles away. 3,000 miles away. Tim says, interesting fact, Trump got 4 million votes less than he did in 2020 and won, and Harris got 12 million less votes than Biden did in 2020. Riddle me that. Harris got 12 million less votes than Biden did, and Trump got 4 million less votes than he did in 2020. What's a riddle about that? Trump lost fewer votes. End of riddle. Stephen says, Stephen, hiding deep in an enormous forest in France, texts, sorry, but Macron did suggest a European army 2 years ago, just saying. This is in relation to a phone call I had some while ago. It seems such a long time ago. It was like a different show. But it seems like a decent idea to me. I mean, you've got all of those countries, 27 countries in the European Union, and they all have their own defence. I mean, that seems like it seems very, very wasteful. I mean, the repetition of jobs and positions and the equipment and all of the rest. I mean, unless Germany is going to go to war with France or Belgium, for instance, then shall we assume that we're all going to get on to a certain extent and we should have, some sort of combined force in order to maximise our efficiency and the money that we spend? Makes sense to me. Glenn says, but it won't have anything to do with us. We'll still be Johnny No-Mates floating around on the outside. Desperate not to be ignored or beaten up. Glenn says Trump won't ever be seen in a prison-coloured jumpsuit because he'd actually be completely camouflaged. You wouldn't be able to see him. And Pete says, melting old people. They have way more chance of freezing. Well, that is true, yeah. How did we get onto melting old people? What's that about? 0345 6060 973. Finsbury Park. Hello, Mark.
Hello. Yeah, so long ago since I started listening, I almost what I was going to say. I mean, look, the point I was trying to make originally was that, and as far as I'm concerned, as somebody who's dealt quite a bit with corporate America over the years, let's just say they're not a country of the sharpest individuals in the box. And as far as I'm concerned, they rejected Harris on the basis that, she was just too intellectual for them. And even though she's not particularly intellectual, but obviously compared to the alternative, she's Einstein and you're the man's Epstein or something.
Yes, Donald Trump does speak like a toddler, essentially. He has the verbal skills of a very young child, and so do his fans. And you could say the I mean, some of our newspapers are printed with the reading age of, I can't remember exactly what the reading age of the Sun is, but it's something like 8 or 7, something like that. And that's most people's. They don't want to hear complicated sentences with words of many syllables. They want to hear somebody talking like they do, and that's Donald Trump.
Well, also, I was just going to say part of it is, I mean, unfortunately, America, the whole history of America is extremely flawed. As in, like, 99% of that country is based on immigrant stock, and it's ridiculously hypocritical of them to moan about other people wanting to come in when, okay, obviously it wasn't the people who are around now who committed genocide, but, at the end of the day, they are a country that's basically allowed 1% of their own native population to still exist, whilst, ignoring quite blandly, benignly, the fact that, the rest of them were all taken out, and now they're complaining, have the nerve to complain about immigrants. Yes. It's ridiculous. It really is. Double standards of the highest order.
Yes.
And I really think it's just pathetic that nobody points this out to them more on a regular basis, although obviously a lot of them would struggle to compute that information on the basis that they are still a country founded of everyone else's rejects, per se.
Mark, I think that they would call that argument woke and stop listening to it straight away. Well,
because they're all asleep at the wheel.
Maybe. All right. OK, good work. Thanks a lot, Mark. 0345 6060 973. Martin says, next time somebody calls in to talk about our special relationship, can you please ask them if the special relationship is in the room with them right now? There's no such thing as a special relationship apart from in our own minds. They don't care about us. And Donald Trump really doesn't care about us with cream on top. Doesn't care. The only thing he cares about is money and power and getting people back who have crossed him in some way. I mean, the man is just like a ranting... He is like... The American people have given power to a hungry baby, essentially. Now, I'm not describing him as a baby. I mean an actual baby, a real one. I mean, would you trust a baby with a machine gun? That has to be about the most dangerous thing you could possibly imagine, right? And that's what they've done. They've given a baby with a machine gun unlimited power to do anything it wants. Other than that, everything's fine. I think the world has taken a wrong turn somewhere. I think we'd better think it out again. Berry, Greater Manchester. Hello, David.
Hey, you okay, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a song, by Baz Luhrmann called Sunscreen.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a line in it, and the line in it goes, politicians or philander. And that's true. Since I've been brought into this world, politicians, whether it's left, right, or central in politics, they'll always let a certain demographic of people down, in my opinion. So
what do you mean by philander?
Well, it means...
Like they're crooks? Like stealing?
Yeah.
Out for themselves?
Yeah. So I've made a decision in my own world.
Yes.
Where it doesn't really matter who's in power now, whether it's left or right, or whatever, whoever you vote for, it doesn't really matter. I'm just a working class kid from the northwest of England. So I now made a decision in my life. I didn't even vote at the last general election. Because I washed my hands with all of them. And people say, oh, what are you doing? No, that's my decision. I'm entitled to do it. And I made a decision where I'm just going to try and create my own little bubble, my own little world with my family, and try and get by as best I can until it's my turn to pass over when I pass away. Because there'll never be anyone in power who'll be 100% right in everything that they do.
Oh, well, David, if you are waiting for things to be 100% right, then you'll never do anything. You'll never go out of your house again because there will never be 100% right day. You'll never listen to any music. You'll never watch any TV show or do anything. Don't wait for 100%. Wait for as good as it can get and then act accordingly. So don't wait for the ideal political candidate. Just pick the least bad option.
No, you see, I just don't see the point in that anymore, because I made a decision where I'm just going to try and get by in my world, go and have good holidays, spend time with people I want to spend time with, go and watch my favourite football team. I make them choices. When it comes to politics now, I've totally washed my hands of all of them. But, we're going about, hang on a minute, we're going about the Conservative Party and what happened with the whole thing with COVID didn't help them out what they were doing. We're going to elected someone on the left of politics in Keir Starmer, who he was just as bad. Wasn't he having parties as well as Boris Johnson?
No. I'm not having that. They're all as bad as each other, because they just aren't. Boris Johnson is a uniquely bad person, and Keir Starmer just isn't. And they weren't having parties. He had a curry while he was working, and some photographer got him through the window with a beer in his hand. It was totally different from getting somebody to go out with a suitcase and fill it up with booze, and then the cleaner came in the next day and had to scrape the vomit off the walls. Totally different.
Right. All right, well, okay then.
And the thing, David, I'd have to say is that you might try and insulate yourself from politics. You might disconnect from politics, but politics.
Well, I have done.
But politics doesn't care about whether you're disconnected or not. It's going to affect you anyway.
Yeah, but listen, it's affected me all my life, politics. So I've got to the point now, I'm just not bothered anymore. I'll just try and make the best of my own.
But do you understand what I'm saying? Whether you're bothered or not won't matter to politics, because it will affect you anyway. That's why I'm saying that just pick the least bad option.
Yeah, well, no. Why
and
think
for your own benefit and the benefit of the people that you love. That's the reason why. It's because your life won't change immediately, regardless of who you vote for, whether they get in or not. But by small increments, you might notice your life path might diverge over a long period to be significantly better if you actually do take part than if you didn't. Possible.
Yeah, but I've took part all my life up until the last general election, and it's done nothing for me from what I can see.
Right.
So I made the decision to just give up. What's wrong with just giving up sometimes in the world and just going your own way? There's these people in the world that go and live off grid because they're just totally, absolutely fed up with it.
Yeah, but
I'm at that stage now. So I made that decision, and I know you're disappointed because you're thinking, well, you people like you, David, affect the outcome of who can put things in place for everybody else in the world. Well, no, I've made that decision where, maybe I've self-insulated myself from it. I washed my hands of all Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson and this new girl for the Conservative Party. They'd actually come to my local pub in Manchester and sit down and understand the work.
Got a little bit emotional right at the end there, but I'm sort of with him, and I get that, and I understand the annoyance and the feeling like no one's listening to you, but not engaging isn't going to make it better. It will only make it worse. That's the thing. I think that you should always, and don't expect any positive results necessarily now or even ever, but maybe in the fullness of time, if everybody goes out and does their bit by, it's not much, is it? And it doesn't happen very often. And you don't have to walk very far. It's not like America, you've got a queue in the rain for 8 hours before you get to the front of the line. We don't deliberately try to make it as difficult as possible. We actually make it as easy as possible. And it ain't much. Just go pick the one that you feel is the least bad option. But just don't expect your life to change immediately. But eventually, I mean, imagine two timelines, like a V. At the intersection of the V, that's where we are right now. And if you do not vote, then you're going down the left-hand line. If you do vote, you might go down the right-hand line. And after a long period of time, those two lines are very, very far apart. I'm just saying it's possible. And for the effort involved, why not just give it a go, for crying out loud?
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but coincidentally, I do a podcast with you.
Yeah.
I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin, and I do believe that you will find it a right laugh. If you just want to tune out of all of this misery, then it is a misery-free podcast. I think you'll love it. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? It's on Global Player, which you can get free from your App Store or globalplayer.com. Also, wherever you get your podcast from. And the idea is that we solve people's problems, but we will not be able to do that unless you tell us what they are. And by problems, I mean, things that you irritate you in ordinary life, a dilemma that you have, an issue that you want advice on, that kind of thing. It's played for laughs. And the podcast address is nickandcarol@global.com. NICKANDCAROL @global.com. And prepare for total satisfaction.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on the internet near you. What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? We're coming up to our 300th episode. I cannot believe it. 300 is coming up. It's What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol? Available on an internet near you. 0345 6060 973. Glasgow, Wesley. Wesley.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hi, Nick. You said earlier on that President Trump said he had a book of Hitler quotes on his bedside table. When and where did he say that?
Speeches.
Yeah, when and where did he say that?
It was an old article by Vanity Fair, I think, and they were being shown around his hideous apartment, and they noted that he had as bedtime reading a book of Hitler speeches. And he was subsequently asked about that in an interview, I can't remember with who, maybe Barbara Walters.
So,
and he said, I don't, somebody gave that to me, I don't know, he might have been Jewish. That's what he said.
So the source for that was Vanity Fair?
No, his own mouth.
So the source for that he had a book of Hitler quotes was Vanity Fair, and Donald Trump said he was given that book by a friend.
Yeah, he said he had that book.
Okay, so he didn't say that he read quotes by Hitler that was left on his bedside table. Vanity Fair said he had a book of Hitler quotes.
No, Donald Trump said. Vanity Fair noted it, and Donald Trump confirmed it.
Yeah, but you also alluded to the fact that he read this book and that...
Well, it's pretty coincidental. If he didn't read the book... I mean, he's said before that he admired Adolf Hitler.
When did he say that?
Okay, just checking for you. In, one moment. Donald Trump's second White House chief of staff tried to stop Donald Trump praising Adolf Hitler by trying to convince the then president...
Is this General Kelly? Is this General Kelly, the man that was caught lying several times about a condolence call and also about veterans? He was actually...
Are you upset? Are you upset at the concept of somebody lying, Wesley? Because by calling up to support Donald Trump, but also being upset at the concept of lying, do you understand the conflict there?
Okay, let me ask you another question. You said
another question.
You said there was cheating in the election. Can you give me any example? Yes, you did. You did. You did say that.
Well,
Can you give me example?
Which election are you talking? Which election are you talking about? The one that's just happened?
In the 2024 US election.
Right.
Can you give me any evidence of cheating in the 2024 US election?
Wesley, do you understand the conflict when you are calling into? Try to listen to me. When you're trying to support Donald Trump, do you understand that it is causing some confusion in my mind that you are completely ignoring Donald Trump's constant refrain that he was cheated out of the previous election?
No, I'm asking you. You said there was cheating in the 2024 US election.
No, but I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Wesley,
yes,
I didn't.
Did,
I suggested that there may...
You did. You can listen back.
Listen to me. I suggest...
No, you listen back.
No. I can't... that you're so... I don't know. Okay, I'll ask you... Okay, here's from Vanity Fair. Did your cousin John give you Hitler speeches? I asked Trump. Trump hesitated. Who told you that? I don't remember, I said. Actually, it was my friend Marty Davis from Paramount who gave me a copy of Mein Kampf, and he's a Jew, said Donald Trump. I did give him a book about Hitler, Marty Davis said, but it was My New Order, Hitler's speeches, not Mein Kampf. I thought he would find it interesting. I am his friend, but I'm not Jewish. Are you listening to this, Wesley?
Can you give me an example of cheating in the 2024
Oh my God,
election?
you're not actually listening to this at all, are you? And I did not say that there was cheating. I said that it was a little suspicious that he was saying beforehand to his rally crowd, I don't need your vote, I have enough votes. That was my suspicion. Later, Trump returned to the subject. If I had those speeches, and I'm not saying that I do, I would never read them, said Donald Trump, which makes it curious that he keeps quoting Hitler a lot.
I find it very curious why you just can't answer that simple question.
Which question?
Because you did say earlier on that there was cheating in the 2024 US election.
Yeah, no, I
didn't.
didn't.
You said it.
No, I didn't.
You said there was cheating in the election.
Yeah, you keep saying
Listen
that.
back, mate.
Wesley,
Listen back, you said it.
How can I listen back? It's a live show.
Yeah, but it's recorded. Go to your Global Player app. And
How can I do that on a live...
See when the show ends, Nick. Listen back on Global Player.
Okay, so you would be against someone who suggests...
You said it
Wait a minute.
times, by the way.
Listen to me. You are against somebody who would suggest that there was cheating in an election.
Yeah, you said that.
Right,
you
but Donald...
said there was cheating.
Okay, if I said it, and I don't think I did, but if I did, I said it once. Donald Trump has said it. Listen to me, Wesley. Donald Trump has said it literally thousands of times.
Okay, so now you're acting like Donald Trump in.
Well, then I would get your support.
I mean, you're just a clown.
I'm a clown. Okay, I tell you what, Wesley, it is available on Global Player. You listen back to it and see how well you came off. And just another Trump fan. Deluded. I mean, he doesn't need your help, Wesley. He's doing just fine. Reel your neck in. God. Antex, I don't think Trump knows what's going to hit him coming up. He's sick and exhausted. He does seem like a man who's like a party balloon that's leaking air. He says, Putin's only just getting started. He has plans for America and he still has his compromat on Trump. Yeah, I bet he does. I bet he does. I mean, Trump does seem weirdly fawning in the presence of dictators, doesn't he? I mean, he just sort of prostrates himself. He's just, he licks his lips just at the very idea that he could be a Putin or even a Kim Jong-un. I mean, they do have that same svelte physique. Him and Lil Kim. And President Xi, too. Oh, he loves those people. Maybe that's why he has expressed affection for Adolf Hitler so much. Maybe that's why he keeps quoting him in his speeches. He says, Putin's going to start squeezing Trump on day one. He hasn't put him in the White House just to watch just to watch him eat burgers. That's a good point, Anne. 0345 6060 973. Carnforth. Hey up, Annie.
Hey up, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. I'm afraid I've ceased to be amused by Donald Trump anymore. I think he's too dangerous, isn't it?
Before I came in tonight, I had that thought, but you can either just be as I've been for the last couple of days, just sort of filled with dread, or you can get on with your life and, with almost safe in the knowledge that most of what he does won't affect you that much.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think obviously he's very dangerous for the American people, but I think he's really dangerous for the world. For a start, all climate change legislation and stuff will just go out of the window in America. And of course, they're one of the biggest emitters. So, we really are at the stage with climate change where if we don't change our ways, like yesterday, we're going to go past the point of no return where it's just uncontrollable. I mean, just look at how many floods and fires and extreme weather there is everywhere. So, I mean, he is so dangerous for the world. I also think, I mean, if I was an American woman, I would be very scared because I think it's going to go even more Handmaid's Tale. There are some states where they've been talking about controlling contraception, never mind just abortion.
Yeah.
So, the lunatics are truly in charge of this asylum now, and he's surrounded by some absolute fruitcake loonies.
Awful people.
Yeah, so, and also, people have been saying, oh, Donald Trump he doesn't want wars. I'm not in any way convinced about that.
No.
Well,
he started a civil war, so, what more do you want?
Yeah, but, not with the people who I say we, not me personally, but Western leaders would see as traditional enemies like Putin, because, he absolutely loves Putin.
Loves him,
The big bros, aren't they? And I don't even think with China, other than a trade war, which will probably cause a world recession, if that happens. But, a hot war, I think it'll be Iran. I think, I don't think any coincidence this news about, some Iranian official, being involved with, threats against Trump's life. I'm sure that's no coincidence. And, of course, he has his proxy in Israel, who Netanyahu is chomping at the bit to have a proper go at Iran. So with the blessing of Trump and possibly, with a bit of American Air Force, I don't think it would be a ground invasion or anything like that, but I just think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a big bust-up in the Middle East, a big war with Iran, and I think, I just think it's just so much like coincidence that this has just come out tonight about Iran, and especially to do with Donald Trump. Some Iranian whoever was, plotting to assassinate Trump. That just seems a bit too obvious, really.
Two white Americans plotted to kill Donald Trump. So I don't.
Well, yes, but
what's he going to do? Drop a nuclear bomb on Pennsylvania?
No, but I think he really wants to have a good go at Iran. He doesn't like Iran anyway. In the last time he was president, he got rid of the Iran agreement, and he just does not like Iran. And also he will do anything. He's so pro-Israel. He will do anything that Netanyahu wants. I think I'll just let Netanyahu get on with the total destruction of Gaza, carry on in Lebanon, just destroying. I think it's
much more simple. I think it's more simple than that. I don't think he cares about any particular country over another. It's money. How much money have these people given him? And it applies to businesses and countries and individuals. And if you want anything from him, just give him a lot of money and tell him he looks great in that suit.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the Republicans have had a lot of money from AIPAC, just the same as the Democrats did as well in this election. But I don't think it's just that. I think, his son-in-law what was his name? Gerard Kushner, whatever his name is. I mean, I think he's been a big influence on him. But and just the stuff he did before, when he was in before, like moved the American embassy to Jerusalem and recognized Jerusalem as the capital and all the rest of it. I think he's very, very pro-Israel, but he hates Iran. So I
think he's pro-Israel because they've given him a lot of money. I mean,
yes. Well,
people who are pro-Israel have given him a lot of money. I mean, I think that's as simple as it is with Donald Trump. You give him a lot of money and you can have anything you want.
Yeah, well, could be just that. I don't think he cares about a Jewish state or anything else.
I don't think he cares about anything. Nothing beyond his own gut.
Yeah. Yes, his own bank balance.
Yeah, exactly.
And also popularity. He does like to be popular. He doesn't like it.
He loves,
he
likes
admiration.
Yeah, he's like the Rolling Stones in that regard. He will not be able to stop going on tour. Because he just loves that, the roar of the crowd, the back and forth, the pantomime thing that he does. He won't be able to give that up. He'll be missing it like crazy. So his entire presidency will be golfing and those demented safe space rallies, while the other people, the real lunatics, get on with the dismantling of everything that we know and love.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. 0345 6060 973. This whole thing seems to have stalled. We'll probably ask a man to come in and fix it, eh? If a woman isn't available, then ask for a man to come in and fix it. I've got no idea. I could try and eject. Oh, there you go. Hey, I fixed it myself. I have actually fixed something myself. Can you believe that?
No.
West Devon. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. Well done.
I can't believe it. I just stabbed wildly at various buttons and it worked. I'm stunned.
Identify, yeah. Now, what was I going to say? Yes, I think my dear friend in Iowa, a native Iowan she is, I think she feels somewhat like Annie, and, well, I suppose, and the rest of it. I'm kind of in denial at the moment. I was just going to say, she begins her email to, people she loves, sort of, basically, the round Robin type thing. She's a person, I won't read great chunks of it, but she's a person who is sort of on the surface, so it's a bit heartbreaking, really. And it begins with, I write this with the heaviest of heavy hearts. But it goes on later to say, they only win it all if we give up.
Right.
I rang really because of that previous gentleman, not the one before Annie, but the one before. They
which
only
one was
win
that?
it all.
Was he the angry guy?
No.
I
was going to say about him, thoroughly unpleasant chap. Yeah, but no, the one before who was not going to vote again, kind of thing.
Oh, right.
So I go back to my lovely Sondi. She was so full of hope, you see, before.
Yeah.
They only win it all if we give up. Oh God, I've got it on my mobile phone and it keeps going off again. That is exactly what
they want. Yeah.
Our despair and apathy.
Right.
I'm not saying this isn't the hardest thing we've faced as a nation. We are better than this. I think she feels this isn't the America I know.
Yeah.
The America I know doesn't vote for this jerk. You know what I mean?
Well, it's what's extraordinary is if you see videos of old American politicians. I mean, even George Bush, Ronald Reagan, the peanut farmer.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter, yeah. People like that, or, people who used to be in the administrations of those people, and they talk like intelligent human beings. They talk in sentences, they express thoughts, they know their stuff, they have facts at their disposal, and Donald Trump just blew all that away by appealing to the stupidest people in America and they loved him because he talks just like they do.
Yes, yeah.
He talks like he has no education, and that's his demo. That's his demographic that he appeals to the most, people who have no education. And they can't understand when some highfalutin talker goes on about things in full sentences and words of many syllables, and they don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about complicated issues and problems and dilemmas. They just want a guy who says, you know, I'll make everything great. And they say, oh, I understand that. You're going to make everything great. Oh, I get that.
Yeah, but you see, Clement Attlee talked in words of large syllables, but they loved him because he was going to make life better, and he did.
Right.
Over here. I had something to say quickly about, it was the power thing, that whole power thing, the way that Donald Trump looks up to Putin and these people. And I have to say, I'm sorry, but I think it's an erotic charge. The total power in one man. They just love it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But as for Clement Attlee, I mean, that was from a time when on television people would be discussing, you know, scientific concepts or psychological papers, and that was the time when, Jacob Bronowski was speaking to camera for 12 episodes in a row for an hour, and
Kenneth Clark,
civilization,
Kenneth Clark.
exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes. Nowadays, and Panorama was an hour-long program of great seriousness. Now it's a half an hour, and mostly it's presented by a guy who's cycling towards the camera for some unknown reason,
how ridiculous,
while he's speaking. So, and with music in the background, so that you don't get bored, you know. And so that's the difference between then and now. Then, even people who didn't have an education were smarter than people now.
Yes,
who
they wanted.
Yes.
They wanted to learn, Nick.
Right.
You watched or listened because you wanted to learn.
Now there's a refusal to learn. It's actually the celebration of ignorance. There's a film called, I keep saying this over and over, there's a film called Idiocracy. It used to be a comedy about the future. And ever since I saw it, many years ago now, I've been saying it's now a documentary about the present. But it's not a documentary about the present anymore. It is the present. We are watching that film right now. And I recommend that you do. It's called Idiocracy.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's by the guy that did Beavis and Butthead. Which I loved. It's my kind of humour. It's a bit silly, but it's so what's happening right now. It's it to a T. Write that down and look it up later, Rose. Idiocracy.
I don't know if I could face it. You see, I like to learn things when I don't fully understand. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
that's things I don't fully understand.
That's you and you alone. Here, I got to go, Rose, but thanks for that. Ta-da.
Cheers.